Folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Got some pretty, I think, important news today, and I'm not trying to hype this up, and I certainly don't want anyone to be scared or anything like that. But just a lot of stuff and some things towards the end of this video that I want to talk about. It's all connected. And it's something that may be more important to worry about than even Putin and China and all that kind of stuff right now. But definitely stay tuned because there's just a lot here, and I think it's important that we get it covered. Before I get started, have another meeting to announce. This one is in Mesquite, Texas, on November the 12th. So if you're in the Mesquite, Texas area, November the 12th, they're having a homesteading and preparedness meeting. This has been going on for a while, and if you would be interested in going and meeting others like you, certainly shoot this email that should be popping up somewhere down below here. Give this person a call or an email, and you can find out more details about this meeting. That is in Mesquite, Texas on November 12th. So I hope that some of you can make it to that. While we're at it, I'll mention it one more time before it happens, which is this Sunday. The meetings that I hold in our group around here, our local meeting, is this Sunday, the 30th. The meeting's from 2 to 4:30ish. 5-ish, something like that, p.m. There are refreshments available. You can come early. The doors open around 11. People come and they mingle, get to know each other, that kind of stuff. If you are here in the Ozarks and you're interested in attending, go ahead and shoot me an email and I will get back with you on that. If you have emailed me and I haven't responded, I apologize if maybe I've missed. I thought I went through and got everyone's emails, requests on the location, but if you haven't heard from me, just go ahead and resend the email. I get a lot of emails every day, and so it's at times filtering through them I may miss one, so I apologize and just resend the email. We're going to start off with Putin and Russia. Might as well, right? Because that's what everyone else is talking about. Putin today, and I guess he gave a little talk over there in Russia, and he said that the decade ahead will be the most dangerous decade the world has seen since World War II. I'd say that that's pretty accurate. I think he's probably pretty correct on that. So there's a warning from the Vlad. He also said that Russia is defending their right to exist in the face of the West. Now, I'm not taking his side or the West side on this, but I do think that he has a point there, especially if you get into just kind of the ideology there is very different than the West. They're much more traditional, and in a lot of the ways that the West is becoming less. I saw a post the other day on Twitter, and this was from a far left source, and they were condemning Russia because, and it showed this map of Europe, of all the different nations that are agree, or at least, what was the term, admit that a transgender woman is a woman. I think that's the right way to put that. I don't know. And out of all the countries, I mean, some of these countries were, in the 60s and 70% of the population agree that a transgender woman is a woman. I mean, Spain was like 65%. Russia was only 2%. They were condemning Russia, that this was a reason why we need to take down Russia because they're so archaic in their ideas. So he does have a point. The Russian ambassador to the United Kingdom said this a day or so ago, that Russia will not use nuclear weapons against Ukraine. Now, let's get into this just for a second here, because it sounds good on the surface. And maybe he's saying that they're not going to use it on Ukraine, but now the rest of Europe and NATO, who knows? But you also have to remember that Russia has used their ambassadors as kind of disinformation people, because leading up to almost the moment that Russia did invade Ukraine, Russia's, especially through their ambassadors, their spokespeople, were claiming that they had no intention whatsoever of invading Ukraine, that they were only just doing some exercises, some training on the border, but they had no intentions, and then all of a sudden they did invade. So remember that also. Russia also, a lot about them in the news. they amend a law to boost their fighting forces in Ukraine, and the claim from them now is that they have something like 1.2 million and growing that are ready to fight, or at the ready for those orders. So that's quite a bit that they could get. And remember, like I said the other day, they have the advantage over us that logistically they can get those soldiers to the front lines pretty quickly. All they do is have to go down to the local train station and jump on a train, and it takes you pretty close to the front lines, whereas we have to transport them across a very large ocean and then across the pretty much most of Europe to get there. So they do have very much a logistic advantage over us. China, this one here is, want to really focus on this one for a second. China says that they want to have deeper ties with Russia, that they desire that, and they were silent on Ukraine. It appears that in the last day or so, both Putin and Xi Jinping spoke publicly. And there's been some people in the news, and there's even been YouTubers and people in the comments and stuff saying that they don't believe that Russia and China are really allies, and that China's trying to distance themselves from Russia because they don't like what's going on in Ukraine. And I've never felt that way. I've never thought that way, because most all the evidence shows the exact opposite. I kind of think China is probably wanting Russia to do their thing so that they can deplete or wear down the United States and the United States economy and the military, so that there'll be an easier and softer force for China to take on. But it's interesting that this was said, that China makes the announcements that they want closer ties with Russia. They want them to deepen, and they did not say anything about condemning Russia and Ukraine. Putin also said today that Taiwan is part of China. He basically giving his support to China, that it is part of China. Now, speaking of Taiwan and China, Zero Hedge has this article here, and the title is This Move Just Assured an Invasion of Taiwan. And so what this move is talking about is Xi Jinping's little conference. He had a conference on Monday with the CCP, or he opened the conference, the CCP conference on Monday, and this was part of his statement that Hong Kong is now complete, meaning completely part of China, and that Taiwan is next. So definitely something to be paying attention to. Now, all the while that China and Russia and North Korea and Iran seem to be building their war capabilities. It doesn't even matter at this point of how advanced those capabilities are, or how technologically developed or tough or anything. The fact is that they are building their military capabilities, while the United States seems to be doing the opposite. I mean, it's no secret that for the last several years, at least a decade or more, that the United States has been kind of shrinking the size of the military and shrinking the military's capabilities, okay? Well, the Pentagon defends a plan to cut nuclear capabilities. Despite Putin's threats, Defense Secretary insists that there is no need for a new sea-launched missile system. Now, here's the thing that I don't talk about a whole lot on here, but it is a fact that not only does Russia have more nukes, Russia has more advanced nukes and nuclear technology. Not just the actual detonation of the bomb itself, but delivery systems and defense systems against other people's nukes. It's something that, especially since the Cold War, the United States has just kind of not really done a whole lot. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the wars that we have been involved in, there was no need for that. We haven't been in any kind of conflict with an opposing force that had nuclear capabilities. So we focus, like I said the other day, on small strategic forces, your specialized, your special operations forces, and that's where we put all our focus on. But when it comes to nuclear capabilities, while we have them, Our technology isn't nearly as advanced as the Russians. And here we have apparently the possibility to develop new sea-launched missile systems, and the Defense Department is, they're nixing that. And also, Defense Secretary said that there is no indication that Russia will use a dirty bomb in Ukraine. He didn't say that there was no indication that Ukraine would use a dirty bomb, just that Russia wouldn't use one. And while we're cutting back our own military capabilities, we're sending what we have left still over to Ukraine. Ukraine gets advanced air systems, air defense systems, earlier next month. There's at least 2 of these systems that have been sent out, and the Biden administration made the announcement that there's an additional 6 more that's going to be sent over, except those 6 more aren't even built yet, which makes me think, do we not have any more? I mean, the 2 that we're sending over in a few weeks, is that the only ones that we have? Or we just don't want to send any more because it would deplete our number so drastically? And either one of those scenarios should be a cause and for caution, because if 6 more of these missile systems, if we sent 6 additional missile systems, if just 6 of those systems depleted our supplies so low that it would be kind of dangerously low, then that's kind of scary to think of, that with the big military industrial complex that we have that spends trillions of dollars on defense, that we don't even have enough of these NASAM missile defense systems to send over to Ukraine, that it's going to take a couple of years, a year or 2 for us to build them. It means that we're depleting ourselves much faster than I think a lot of people want to admit. I said the other day that there's been over 1 million artillery shells sent over. Some estimates show that things like the Javelin missile systems and maybe even the HIMARS, that we've depleted our supplies maybe a third or more by sending those over to Ukraine. So this is certainly not a good thing, if in fact it's all true. And we don't know. We just kind of at this point taking it at face value. Now I want to get to the what I think is the really serious stuff that we need to focus on. And this isn't anything new, I don't think, to most of you. It's just that we've probably all and I'm victim of it myself, that we get so caught up in the China and the Russia and the Iran and the North Korea and the economy and the bumbling doofuses at debates and things like that, that the absolute known immediate threat, these aren't possible threats of possible World War III or possible nuclear war or possible economic collapse. These are absolute actual threats that are happening as I'm speaking to you. And that's this. Biden breaks his annual record with 2.3 million illegal border crossings this year. And the year's not even over, okay? The year's not even over, and if what I understand is correct, there typically is more crossings in the cooler months of the year, which is where we are at now. So it's quite possible, at the rate that we're going, that this number by December 31st could be close to 3 million. Okay? Let's get into this more. More than 2.3 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border in the fiscal year, and of course this is fiscal year, so I guess that means something, but fiscal year of 2022, breaking the record of Biden's administration set a year ago by 37%. So 37% more came across this year than last year. The total of the 2 record-breaking years, the 2 years that Biden has been in office, or almost 2 years, is now at 4.7 million. We're talking almost 5 million illegal border crossings in 2 years. But wait, there's more, folks. That figure includes 3.8 million illegals apprehended by Customs and Border Patrol protection, and more than 900,000 known gotaways that have escaped Border Patrol. Let me read this again. That figure includes 3.8 million illegals apprehended by Border Patrol and more than 900,000 known gotaways. So almost 5 million people that cross the border that we know of. Okay, that's how it should read. Almost 5 million people got across the border illegally that we know of. Okay, how many more got across the border that weren't apprehended and Border Patrol was not aware of their crossing? I don't know. I mean, maybe there's some estimates out there. I don't know how anyone could actually come up with a hard fact, hard number on that, because it's quite possible that this is increased, and it's not just on the Mexican border, our southern border. Could be at ports. It could be on the northern border with Canada. Of illegals crossing into the United States. Now, the reason why I think that this is very serious, I mean, it isn't maybe the common reason why. The common reason is that, oh man, there's all these people coming here, they're a drain on our economy, we're already experiencing economic problems, we're experiencing supply chain problems, and there's 5 million more additional people that's putting a burden onto the system, putting a burden on the healthcare system, education system. Many of them bring crime with them. Not all, I know, but some do. They're crime with them, whether it's small petty crimes or violent crimes, human trafficking, drugs, lots and lots of drugs. In fact, a huge fentanyl bust the other day. Weapons, illegal weapons, all that kind of stuff. Now, that's the stuff that's been a problem all along, okay? But because we're on kind of a knife's edge right now, with Russia and China predominantly, but even North Korea and Iran and things like that, how many of those illegals that came across could be possibly be, undercover agents or even undercover troops for any of those nations that we're opposing right now? Even if it was a small percentage, even if it was 10%, if 10% of the people came across were somehow connected, whether they were undercover fighting forces or just, insurgents in some way, that's a substantial amount of people. We're talking 500,000 people. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of people. If it was 1%, that's still a substantial amount of people. If it was 0.5%, still a substantial amount of people. And we don't know. We do know that certainly not all the people coming across the border illegally are from, Latin American countries or South American countries. We know that for a fact. You can look at the numbers and see that there's plenty of European, Eastern European, Asian, Indian people that are coming across the border. At the Mexican border, there was an article just the other day that they're flying in, they're taking flights from Mexico City to near the border, getting off of these flights, and then they're walking across the border. So this idea that they're walking for hundreds or even thousands of miles is just ridiculous. It's not happening, and most of you all already know that. So obviously they have money, they have funding somewhere that they're able to take these flights to the border so that they can walk across. And while I have really zero evidence to indicate that these are foreign fighters that are crossing our border, it's something that we should be concerned with. And it's this, I don't believe that this is at all a conspiracy theory, because I would think that if we went back to World War II or even World War I, and you had lots and lots and lots and lots of illegals crossing the border during a time of war or very close leading up to that time of war, I would think that most people would be a little concerned of like, well, what if these are all a bunch of Nazi Germans or Japanese, that are crossing our border? We should probably be, a little bit more careful here. But we're not. And we could go into all the reasons why they're not careful with it. That's a whole nother video. But the fact is, in this video, is it's happening. We know of nearly 5 million in 2 years. That's substantial. That's a huge city. I mean, 5 million people would rank as one of the largest cities in the United States. And we're doing nothing about it. Well, not really a whole lot about it. And how much of that is not just a threat to us in all the common ways that I mentioned earlier, but possibly a threat to us when it comes to invasion. I mean, I don't even have to mention the movie Red Dawn. This is serious, and nothing's being done about it. And is it possible? Also, is it possible that all the hype that we're seeing with Russia and China and everything else is kind of a cover in some way? I'm not saying those things aren't happening, but at least a distraction, so that we can be invaded from our borders and be taken down from the inside, because most likely that's how America will collapse, is from the inside out. Folks, I don't know why we even have to say this, but now more than ever, it is time to get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and very especially spiritually. Folks, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.